All right, guys, welcome back to another video where everyone's having a good start to their week. If it's your first time here, you enjoy daily gaming content, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you've been watching for a while, as I see a lot of you have been from my analytics and you like this content, consider hitting that subscribe button. But let's start off here. Let's start talking about the Nintendo Switch 2, because we've heard a lot about the Switch 2 for a while now. People are expecting this console to be released soon. A lot of expectations were put on the Nintendo Switch 2 to be released in 2024, but recently we have heard that it could be delayed until 2025, specifically targeting March 2025. And now we have another report here corroborating that claim. And this comes via the Japanese news publication Nikkei, who had an article that was put out behind a paywall. But they are claiming that the Switch's internal delay, the Switch 2's internal delay, I should say, is being done because they don't want to have supply issues when the console does release. It says here, priority was given to ensure the initial inventory of the successor console and a lineup of software titles at that time of its launch. And they're also reporting, again, this is going to be, of course, the hybrid portable home style of console, and it will have a bigger screen than the original Switch, which had a 6.2-inch display. I wonder if they're going to go up to like 7 inches. I believe that's what the rumors are saying. But they are also saying it could potentially be pushed beyond March 2025. If you remember with the original Nintendo Switch, they announced it and then they released it in March of the following year. And it looks like that's kind of what they are targeting here for this Nintendo Switch successor. So if you were hoping that this would come out in 2024, it's more and more looking like that won't be the case. I'm expecting some sort of announcement for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the summer, and then they're going to give us the release date for a 2025 release. I'm actually very excited to see how they're going to improve on the current Switch. I don't think it's going to be an insane upgrade. Like, obviously we'll have more power, you'll get more performance. They're going to want to make it so that the third-party developers releasing games now on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 will be able to put their games on the Switch 2, even if it's at a far lower resolution and maybe 30 frames per second. But at least getting the games there is all that really matters for the Nintendo Switch, because people don't focus and care about the FPS and resolution like they do with the Series X and the PlayStation 5. So I think that's going to be a nice upgrade. We'll see what they do with the Joy-Cons. I feel like there'll be some nice upgrades there, but it'll just be a nice, improved, advanced version of the Switch, but not something that is completely different like we saw when we went from the Nintendo Wii and Wii U to the Nintendo Switch, which was just an awesome change that they had because of obviously the abysmal failure that the Wii U was. Now, if you also remember with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, for a number of years, it was extremely hard for people to get their hands on those consoles because of the chip shortage and everything with the supply of those things. And generally, you think sometimes there is this artificial supply issue that these companies make to increase the demand, and I would say maybe sometimes it happens, like even with like the amiibos that Nintendo originally made, they definitely had some artificial supply issues with those because they wanted people to get into the collector mode and go out and pick them up as soon as they were released. But with the actual console, with the Switch 2, with the amount of units that they have sold with the current Nintendo Switch, they're going to probably have a relatively large amount of transfer rate from the Switch to the Switch 2 when this thing launches, and they're going to want to make sure they have enough units out there to meet that demand. So if that's the reason, that's probably a good reason to delay this. And then the first party software lineup, I'm hoping, my biggest wish for the Nintendo Switch 2 release is that Metroid Prime 4 is there when they do release the Switch 2. So we'll see what happens here. It's going to be another big player in the console market, taking on Xbox, taking on PlayStation. And at that time, who knows what other Xboxes and PlayStations will be out. We've been hearing the rumors about the digital Series X as well as the PlayStation 5 Pro. And speaking about the PlayStation 5 Pro, we do have another report here that is essentially saying that the PS5 Pro is coming out this year. Says here, report Sony begins sharing PS5 Pro specs widely with publishers. And this was claimed here during the Sacred Symbols podcast with Colin Moriarty. And says here, in a recent episode of his YouTube show, Moriarty said that he was explicitly told by a contact at a mid-sized third-party publisher that the company is in possession of the PlayStation 5 Pro specs. Now, we don't know what those specs are. We've heard details here, like there's been rumors going around that it is going to be relatively more powerful than the PlayStation 5. They want to get those frame rates steady, I think, at 60 FPS. So they'll have to make a console that can do that, whether that is at like 1440p or something. I think we're still at a point where pushing 4K 60 locked and making sure every game it looks great with that will not be what comes out with the PS5 Pro, but who knows? We'll wait and see on that. It says here, Moriarty also corroborated reports that first party and second party devs already have access to the PlayStation 5 Pro details. And a lot of people are thinking that they're setting this PS5 Pro release up for GTA 6. I mean, that's how big of a game GTA 6 is going to be. You want everything in line to make sure that the best experience is on your platform. And that's going to be a huge advantage for PlayStation. If they get a PS5 Pro out there, maybe it's slightly more expensive than when the PS5 released. Maybe it's around $550, $600. I think there's still a market for that where people will want the best experience on console. And then they will be able to market GTA 6 as the best place to play it if you want the best performance and the best looking version of it, because this game is not releasing on PC when it does come out, will be on the PlayStation 5 Pro. This is something I think Xbox has to definitely look at and see how they're going to be able to counter that, because you're going to have a lot of people going just to pick up consoles just to play GTA. Again, it's not a first party release. More people buy consoles to play third party games, and GTA 6 is going to be one of those games where I think the most amount of people go out there and pick up a console for it. So you're going to want to be positioned, if you're Xbox, to be able to take on PlayStation when that game comes out. And it looks like they probably won't be, as they are going to be foregoing, it seems like, a pro version of a Series X and just wait until the next generation starts, as rumors have been circulating 2026, 2027, when the next gen is going to start, and then Xbox is just going to release their brand new console then, either whether that's a hybrid handheld, whether that is a very powerful at-home console, who knows, but it will be something to definitely look at in terms of how big GTA 6 is when it comes out, and if it is going to be used as a way to try to push more of the PlayStation 5 Pro. So hopefully we get an announcement for PS5 Pro soon. I'm interested in what the specs are going to be and the upgrades it will be for the PlayStation 5. Okay, let's jump over here. Let's talk about something kind of silly, in my opinion, but we have to talk about it because, I mean, everybody is going on about it, and I'm sure people are wondering what the situation is about this. And that is Pentiment. We know Pentiment did get released on the PlayStation 5, and if you've ever played Pentiment, or if you know anything about this game, it is essentially a graphic novel. The frame rate does not matter in this game. It really makes no difference whatsoever as to how good your experience is going to be. And the game is out on PlayStation right now, and apparently it's at 120 FPS on PlayStation and only at 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X. So obviously this creates a lot of outrage amongst the console wars and the fanboys, saying that it took them releasing it on PlayStation to get the best version of this game. All of these things, but I think overall it's silly because it's Pentiment. It's not a game where this matters at all. Not a single person in the world is going to notice the difference between 60 FPS or 120 FPS. I can understand maybe the principle of the thing, but Josh Sawyer actually did update what is going on here and saying that 120 FPS will be enabled for Xbox in the next patch. And it was just, it being disabled was just a bug. And what happened, this is according to Tom Warren here, who got confirmation from Obsidian, or saying that Obsidian confirmed this, saying Obsidian has confirmed to me that the 120 FPS option for Pentiment was planned to release at the same time on Xbox alongside the PS5 launch, but a bug has delayed the update. So it sounds like they were putting it out at 120 FPS on Xbox at the same time. There's probably going to be an update for the game, but something happened, and obviously it didn't hit the Xbox store at the same time as it did hit the PlayStation store to get that update. But again, it's Pentiment. And I know I'm not trying to minimize the fact that PS5, a first party Xbox game, is running best on PS5 at this moment before they update it. I don't think that should ever be the case. And if we do see more examples of this in the future of Xbox games running better on PlayStation versus the Xbox, that will be an issue. And then you have to also think about when the PS5 Pro does come out, how will these games run on the PlayStation 5 Pro versus the Xbox Series X? That's another thing I think Xbox is going to have to think about and tackle with if the PS5 Pro does eventually release this year. But all of this to say, with Pentiment, it's extremely silly, some of the outrage people have towards the difference for this game. And it is going to be updated. And I'm sure, I believe Josh Sawyer that it was a bug. I know some people don't believe it, and some people are saying he's just saying that now because he got called out. But I believe it. I mean, it kind of probably just fell through the cracks at the end of the day for, again, a game that honestly it makes no difference whether it's 60 or 120. There's not a single person that can come here and say, oh, I'm going to notice that difference with Pentiment between the 60 and the 120 FPS. Okay, let's jump over here and let's talk about another error that's been fixed on Xbox. And this is the wishlist. There was a big thing happening yesterday morning where people's wishlist games were just disappearing, and people were getting concerned because they had like hundreds of games in there. And I totally get that. If you have tons of games and you're tracking them to see when they go on sale, and then all of a sudden that list is gone, you're going to be kind of pissed off. But we have a good ending to this story, as there is an update here from the Xbox engineering lead, Eden Marie, that the Xbox wish lists have returned to normal. This was just some sort of error that was occurring, and now it is being fixed. She says here, if you had your wish list on Xbox disappear over the weekend, I'm told that your items should be coming back right about now. Mine are back at least. So if you haven't checked your wish list since this error occurred, go check it, because everything should be back to normal. Okay, let's jump over here and let us talk about some more layoffs in the industry. As I do, like I've said, I pretty much talk about every layoff that has occurred. I may miss one or the other here because there's just so many that are happening. We're in a year where I think we're going to see more layoffs than we've ever seen, as the industry is shrinking, costs are increasing. These companies need to be able to become more efficient, and one way that they do that is by laying off people so that they can increase their margins and make more money. And another one here is from Until Dawn Studios Supermassive, who is reportedly laying off 90 employees. This is according to Bloomberg. And Supermassive, if you don't know, they've created games like Until Dawn, The Quarry, and they're very like just cinematic style games where you make choices and there's consequences and all that type of stuff there. So this is from Bloomberg, saying that the UK studio has informed around 150 staff members that they are at risk of redundancy. And Supermassive is owned by Avalanche Studios Group with more than 300 staff. And it's all been confirmed here, as Supermassive actually did put out a message on Twitter that they're entering a period of consultation, which is required by the UK law, which will result in job losses. They say, it's no secret that the games industry is currently facing significant challenges, and unfortunately, we aren't immune to this. After much deliberation and with a deep regret, we are therefore undertaking a reorganization of Supermassive Games. As a result, we are entering into a period of consultation, which we anticipate will result in the loss of some of our colleagues. This is not a decision that's been taken lightly, with many efforts made to avoid this outcome. We are all too aware of how unsettling and difficult this process is going to be for all of our employees, and will be working closely with all those involved to ensure the process is conducted as respectfully and compassionately as possible. We're committed to focusing our efforts on our core strengths and upcoming titles to ensure the continued sustainability of the company. So there it is, more layoffs. Very unfortunate. I hope all those people who get laid off land on their feet somewhere, but we're going to continue to see this throughout 2024. This is a story, or stories, like you will say, that is just going to continue. And finally, let's end off and let's talk about something that sounds pretty interesting. Sounds like a new direction, but at the same time, it's just Ubisoft trying to get more people stuck within Ubisoft games, which is kind of what they've always done, especially when they've made these massive open world games. And I'm a fan of them. I like the big open world Assassin's Creed. I know some people think they're too long and too much stuff packed into it, but I actually do enjoy them. But this is Assassin's Creed Infinity, something we've heard about previously, but now we actually have information on it via Insider Gaming. And Assassin's Creed Infinity essentially is a live service hub for all of the Assassin's Creed content that is going to be releasing. It's their biggest franchise, and they release a ton of stuff with Assassin's Creed. So this is what they say here. Essentially, Assassin's Creed Infinity will be the core hub of the franchise, from which games including Red, Hex, and Invictus will be launched. And Insider Gaming actually got some demo footage of this under the condition that the footage does not go public. So they've actually seen this. This isn't them, I guess, just taking the word of somebody. Apparently they've actually seen the footage of Assassin's Creed Infinity, the Infinity Hub, and how it works and all of that. Says here, shows the user going from the Infinity Hub to Assassin's Creed Red within just a few seconds, picking up where they left off rather than having to boot the games up individually after falling back to the hub. So Assassin's Creed Red, first of all, that's going to be their next big open world game based in Japan, which I'm extremely excited for. But it looks like they are going to be trying to keep you literally within Ubisoft's Infinity Hub, never to leave it. As you know, on Xbox, you have something like Quick Resume where you can jump between games and you take off right where you left off. That is not available on PlayStation. So I wonder if this kind of brings that Quick Resume feature somewhat to PlayStation via the Assassin's Creed games. But they're trying to keep you within the Infinity Hub, so you don't even leave that. You don't even go to the PlayStation Store or the Xbox Store and get tempted at all to go out and try and play other games. I mean, it's interesting what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep all of your attention in Assassin's Creed and in the Ubisoft ecosystem. It says here, the main focus of Infinity is a live service offering, which is all told via the modern day story. To start, Infinity will launch on the same day as Red and will contain several features that you would expect from a live service. So first of all, you have the exchange, which will be an items shop offering players the opportunity to purchase daily and weekly in-game cosmetics for the two protagonists that you're going to be able to play in Assassin's Creed Red, Neo and Yasuke. Also, they say in addition to the exchange, Infinity has a synchronization feature that allows players to access projects for each protagonist. And they say projects are essentially mini battle passes with narratives behind them where you go through, you beat them, then you unlock cosmetic rewards for your characters. Projects will be added throughout Infinity constantly, focusing mainly on DLC and new game releases, or even as a means of sustaining players' interest during a lack of any new content. So, I mean, there it is again. They want to keep you locked in to Ubisoft. They want to keep you locked into the Assassin's Creed world. Even if there isn't new content, you jump in and you say, hey, I want to get this cosmetic, so I'll go complete some of this stuff in Assassin's Creed Red. Probably some collection, some fetch quests, maybe taking down bases, things like that. But to keep you within the universe. Continues here and says it's understood that the current strategy for Ubisoft with Infinity is to release a mainline game every 2 years with smaller experiences in between. Red is scheduled for later this year. Again, I can't wait for that one. With Invictus, a multiplayer offering being planned for 2025 and Hex for 2026. And Hex sounds really cool too, because they say the latter title, penned as being the darkest Assassin's Creed game ever, will have a lead female protagonist currently named Elsa for the first time since Assassin's Creed Chronicles China in 2015. Some other projects I'm really excited about. Black Flag remake, apparently in the works. And then there is a Project Nebula, which is settings based in India, the Aztec Empire, and the Mediterranean. And there's Raid, which is a free-to-play 4-player co-op that's PvE, and Echoes, another multiplayer title, and another Assassin's Creed remake, which are all scheduled to be released by the end of the decade. So tons of Assassin's Creed content coming out by 2030. And as someone who loves the Assassin's Creed franchise, I'm all for it. I'm all for more Assassin's Creed. I'm not burnt out by it yet. And the break that we did get from the big open world ones, I think was perfect, because Assassin's Creed Mirage, I loved. I thought it was a great throwback to the older style of games. I think they did a great job with it. And now I'm just kind of feeling that big open world Assassin's Creed, and the fact that it's taking place here in feudal Japan, I really can't wait to get my hands on it. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.